Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tech Gig Webinars, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key of enhancing our performances and for our growth as professionals. With this principle in mind, Tech Gig has initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give a crisp insight of various domains. Topic for today's webinar session is Software Application Lifecycle Management Maturity with Microsoft Visual Studio and Team Foundation Server. We are delighted to have Mr. Sandeep Chanda, Director Solutions at Nudesic with us today. Sandeep Chanda is Director Solutions at Nudesic, a Microsoft National Systems Integrator and a Gold Certified Partner. He has been working on several Microsoft technologies for past 7 years and very recently has been involved in visualizing some of the new concepts introduced in .NET Framework 4.5 and Windows 8 Metro application development using Visual Studio 11 Developer Review. Gentlemen, this presentation will continue for next 45 minutes and we will take your questions after the presentation. In the meanwhile, you can post your queries through the chat pane available in the webinar software. Without further ado, I introduce you to our guest speaker, Mr. Sandeep.
Thanks a lot. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to find out if you can hear me okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Fine, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. All right. Thanks for the introduction there. Let me just bring up the PowerPoint presentation and please confirm if you can see the slide deck correct. Okay. I'm guessing everyone is able to see my presentation.
We can see your screen, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let me introduce myself. I'm Sandeep. I'm Director of Solutions at Nudesic, and today we are going to talk about ALM, Application Lifecycle Management. I wanted to add in another M to this list, which is representing maturity. So, we'll try to cover aspects of software lifecycle management maturity in today's session. And the tools of choice that I've picked up is Visual Studio Team System and Team Foundation Server. So we'll take a look at a few demos using these two tools and how you can leverage the Microsoft stack in improving your application lifecycle management maturity, right? So, question: why ALM? I have been traveling and working with different teams across the globe, and what I found out is that a problem are fairly similar, even though we work in teams of different sizes. ALM seems to be one of the most attention deficit hyperactive child that as enterprises we all want to tame and leverage at the same time. So what are the issues? Primarily there are different notions that float around. Some of them revolve around the fact that ALM is something only enterprises or large-scale enterprises need to care about, and medium and small-scale companies do not have to worry about any aspects of ALM. So, we'll see through the session as we move forward is how some of the misconceptions are cleared, and your concerns around application lifecycle management will be alleviated. We'll take a look at demos using the latest review of Visual Studio Team System 11 and Team Foundation Server 11, which are in the developer preview mode, and I'm going to use those tools to do the demos in today's session. All right, so that's it. Let's move forward. So what is ALM, right? There are several definitions, and as enterprise, often what we do is we choose our own. We we build a process, and then we align our goals towards the process. We align our goals towards the business needs and map the process to the business needs. And then over a period of time, we tend to improve on the process and overall improve on the overall capabilities as an enterprise to build and release software in a very intuitive fashion. I have picked this definition from the encyclopedia. It says that it's everything about administration and control of an application from its inception to its demise. It's quite heavy, but then if it had to be a one-liner, that if I had to say, and in one line define application lifecycle management, it would simply be align software development with your business needs, right? And you know, the definition is very relative. So if you are a software business house that's happy with the process that just does source control as application lifecycle management, that'd be fine. So you know, there are different aspects of that application lifecycle management, and you know, you can choose and the areas what you want to improve upon, and then you build on that. So that said, let's move on to figure out what's available in the Microsoft stack today. Right. So before 2005, I believe, or around 2004 and 2005, all we could do in terms of software application lifecycle management was source control. We had VSS or Visual Source Safe or different tools, open source tools like SVN available to do source control, and then we would use different softwares for work tracking and work item tracking. More often than not, project managers would go ahead and use Excel as a tool of choice to do all sorts of work tracking and, you know, work item tracking, track the progress. If you're a larger enterprise, you know, some managers also use Microsoft Project to do project management and, you know, do forecasting. So what Microsoft intended was to integrate all these different pieces into one single ecosystem. And the first version of Team Foundation Server came way back in 2005, and then it kept on evolving from there on, right? So what were the goals behind putting together Team Foundation Server? It would give you an integrated platform to perform project management, work item tracking, version control, reporting, and then do predictive builds and releases of your software, right? It really wanted to integrate all of the different suites of applications that are there in the ecosystem. And if you're a .NET developer, the idea was that you don't have to step outside your shoes to you know, use a different platform for all of these, like version control, work item tracking, project management, reporting, etc. You could do that right from your Visual Studio environment itself. So Team Foundation Server came up with all the process guidance templates that help you perform project management, work item tracking, reporting, etc. And you know, there are a couple of standard templates that are available, and we'll see how the newer templates are getting integrated as the newer process templates like Scrum and Agile. So the standard templates that are available today in Team Foundation are the MSF for Agile and MSF for CMMI. So these are the standard process templates that you can use, and then there are third-party templates being built by different teams across Microsoft, like eScrum, and there are other process templates also based on the choice of your process. If you're doing Agile, you could use the Agile template, or if you're doing Agile Scrum, then you could use the eScrum template. Or if you're, you know, you're in a waterfall model and you're using CMMI, you could pretty much use the CMMI template as a choice of your process template. So TFS seamlessly integrates with the Visual Studio Team suite of products. All the editions that come under it, starting from the architecture edition to the test edition, meaning that if you're an architect, you have your dependency graphs generated or architecture diagrams. You can store them in TFS, Team Foundation Server, help use them to build your different layers within the application. If you're a developer, of course, you can check in your source, do all sorts of source control management like branching, merging, and checking in, checking out. If you're a database developer, you could use Team Foundation Server to check in your scripts and do automated deployments. And then if you're part of the QA team, you could potentially use Team Foundation Server to check the quality of builds and ensure a good release, right? So TFS seamlessly integrates with all the Team Suite products. In addition, if you are part of the PMO group and you have been working on Excel pretty much all your life doing project management, you again don't have to step outside from that. There are add-ins that are available part of the Team Foundation Server that can help you perform your project management activities from within Excel, and then you can integrate them seamlessly with Team Foundation Server. In addition, developers do have access to Team Foundation Server via their Visual Studio, but then if you do not have Visual Studio access, you don't have to worry. You actually have the web access URL, and you can do pretty much everything starting from work item tracking to project management, except of course your source control management. You can do pretty much everything using web access. However, again, we'll see how that experience has also been enhanced in the newer version, the latest version that we have. What happens is that we tend to use a product, and then we start liking a product, and there is a lot of feedback, and Microsoft really does a good job in taking the feedback from across different teams around the world and then putting them together in the future versions. And they're also pretty good at leveraging all the different tools that they generate within their ecosystem and leverage them to build better products for future, right? Basically, what I say that they eat their own dog food. So if you'd notice, the newer versions that I'm going to demo with, they're very seamless and easy to use, and they're very intuitive. They reflect the feedback that developers across the world probably would have given Microsoft, and all those changes are getting incorporated in the newer versions. So we'll take a look when we do the demo. Let's move on. Yes, and then there are several third-party tools. For example, if you're aiming for continuous deployment or delivery, you have tools like Team Deploy that can integrate with Team Foundation Server. There are better reporting tools. There are Power Toys that you can use to fill the gaps. Really, today what they are so far in terms of using Team Foundation Server. So all these third-party tools are in play to help you bridge those gaps. And in addition, Team Foundation Server itself is an extensible platform, so you can actually use Team Foundation Server as a platform to build on top of it, and then you can leverage the services and the API methods that are part of Team Foundation Server to build your own set of applications on top of Team Foundation Server and then leverage them in your enterprise. So this diagram is well known. I think if you have attended any previous Microsoft seminars, you must have seen this. And it's a little outdated. In 2010, Visual Studio 2010 and TFS 2010, there is another set of suite of products called the Lab Management for automated provisioning of your environments, doing Iterative debugging, integrated testing suite, and all that are part of Lab Management, which is also sits alongside Team Foundation Server to give you that holistic experience in the application lifecycle management scenario. So that piece is missing here, but you could also find out from the web that there is the Lab Management suite of products also available in association with Team Foundation Server. All right, let's move on. So what's the future really, right? So for today's presentation, as I said, I'm going to use Team Foundation Server 11 to demo some of the cool things that are now part of the experience of application lifecycle management. And then, as I said, there are different elements to it. There are different moving pieces, but we are going to focus on three things today. The first thing is collaborate. We'll see how you can collaborate better using Team Foundation Server 11 and Visual Studio 11 Developer Preview. And it translates to better collaboration between different team members across teams of business analysts, developers, the quality analysts, the operations team, etc. We'll also take a look at how you can do better build and release, how you can manage your releases, and then we'll translate that into some sort of a maturity assessment where I have leveraged this maturity model that you can use. It's a takeaway for you. You can take a look at the maturity model, decide where you stand today, work towards improving your processes to better get better aligned to the goals of the business, and then do more predictive builds and releases, right? So we'll take a look at what the maturity model has to offer, and then how we can leverage the maturity model. So this is the theme for today, right? So let's move forward. All right. If you are in a agile software development process, or if you're leveraging, say, for example, Scrum, this is a very familiar picture in your day-to-day life cycle, right? All of us do daily stand-ups. We talk about what we have done today, what we are going to do tomorrow, and then if there are any blocks. And then we use a standard board representation where we partition it into three areas, where we call it the tasks that are yet to start, or to-do items, and then tasks that are in progress, and tasks that are completed. And we keep moving those items from one stack to another. However, the dynamics changes when you are sitting together in a geographically dispersed team, like in an onshore-offshore model. It's a very common scenario that you're talking to people across over the phone, giving your daily stand-ups. And it's interesting and funny how you talk about things. When the team that is local, they talk about what you've done today and what you're going to do tomorrow. On all the way you talk on the phone, because of the 24-hour cycle, is that what you've done yesterday and what you're going to do today. So the dynamics changes. So it gets difficult for teams that are geographically dispersed, and you have to use the phone to talk about them, talk about your statuses, and communicate and collaborate. So we'll take a look how Visual Studio and TFS has been enhanced to leverage some of the experiences, and the collaboration experience itself has been enhanced, right? I see some questions. Let me see if I can take them now. All right, so there is a question. I'm going to take it. Is Team Foundation Server a free tool? No, it is not a free tool. You have to purchase a license of Team Foundation Server. Yeah, that's basically the answer. It's not a free tool that you can use to leverage directly. So yeah, you have to purchase a license. Okay, so let's move on. All right. So if you can see this deck, it represents the pains that we have today, right? As a business analyst, the moment I start into my requirements gathering, there are several questions that come into my mind. How am I going to collect the feedback? How am I going to do the brainstorming? How am I going to collaborate with the team, translate the stories into actual requirements, or get to a point where I can create a backlog of items from the customer, right? All of these things revolve around, and really, if you see today, business analysts are spending a lot of time trying to use different tools, maybe something from around video capture to capture requirements, write them down on a piece of paper, and then translate into OneNote or maybe MS Word for that matter, and then really deliver them to developers via email or in some form, saying that these are the requirements, and then you have to work on them. Tedious, a lot of pain points, a lot of exchange that keeps happening, and the problem really becomes multifold when you are sitting on a geographically dispersed team, where really your business analyst is in the US and the development team is in India, and you're facing real challenges trying to communicate the requirements, right? So in this case, let's quickly switch to a demo. And what we're going to talk about today is a new feature in Team Foundation Server 11 and the suite of products that are coming part of Visual Studio 11 Developer Preview. There's something called as PowerPoint Storyboarding. So we'll take a look what PowerPoint Storyboarding is all about and how it can help business analysts capture requirements and translate them into backlog items, right? So let's switch to a demo right quick. Okay, let me switch to the demo. So I'm using a developer preview installer of TFS. You can actually go to the Microsoft site and download this developer preview and play around for yourself. There are a set of labs as instruction courses, and then you can follow the labs and explore around what's the new features in TFS 11. So let me log in as Annie. Annie is my business analyst today, so let me log on as her and see how she can do requirements gathering, right? So, all right, so I have logged in as Annie, and if you open Internet Explorer, the virtual machine is already set up with Team Foundation. All you have to do is click on this TFS project portal. This is the SharePoint portal that integrates with TFS. It's really a store where you can keep your requirement documents. You have the team wiki which you can use to communicate and collaborate with different team members. You can update the wiki with all the stories that you have, or if you have any questions regarding the requirements. And then you have this dashboard where you can actually see what are the tasks that are currently on your plate, and then any bugs that are there, and you can actually manipulate from here itself within the portal. This was the web access that I was talking about, right? So what I'm going to do is, as I am going to go to this libraries link, and then there is a folder called Share Documents where all my requirements are placed, right? Traditionally, this is the store what I would have been using for storing Word documents, capturing the requirements in Word documents, and then storing them here. And then maybe at times also I'm using OneNote to share, capture feedback using videos and share them with the developers, right? There is a new thing. There is a new add-in in PowerPoint, Office 2010, which is called as the Storyboarding add-in. So when I click on this PowerPoint deck, it actually comes enabled with the storyboarding add-in. And the storyboarding add-in comes part of Visual Studio Team Foundation Server 11. So if you go to Start, All Programs, and then go to Visual Studio 11, and you'll see that there's an option called as PowerPoint Storyboarding. So you can actually launch in the PowerPoint Storyboarding add-in will be enabled automatically, and you can start creating the stories, right, to relate with the business requirements. So let me click on this deck and let it open. I'll click Enable Editing on this, so it's enabled for editing. And let me run it to show you how the story is. So Annie, as a business analyst, has already actually captured the stories for me, and I'm going to run it to show you how the story flow is, right? So if I do an F5, I'm hoping that you're able to see the screen, right? Please let me know if you're not able to see the screen. I'm running inside a virtual machine, so I'm hoping that you're able to see the screen. Okay, so I didn't hear a no, so I'm guessing that all of you are able to see the screen. So this is the Fabricam Fiber site, and as you can see, if I keep clicking, it automatically walks me through the different requirements. So this is the create customer story, right? I filled in the first name, last name, and then I've created the customer. You can see the customer grid, and then you can click on different links. You can go to tickets and see what are the tickets that are being assigned, and so on and so forth. So this is the entire story that has been built using PowerPoint, and it's living inside your Team Foundation Server project portal. really. And so what does this storyboarding add-in have for you? If you notice that there are quite a few things that are available. The first thing that is available, actually let me open a blank storyboarding template so it'll be easier for you to understand that way. So if you open this new storyboarding slide deck, right, you notice that there are certain storyboarding shapes. So let me go ahead and delete all these. Let me create a blank slide. And then if you right click and go to layout, you notice that there are several predefined templates that are built in part of the storyboarding add-in, which can expedite your work towards building the stories, right? So you notice that there is a SharePoint template, so it basically the moment you use that layout, SharePoint is available and you can actually see this SharePoint template being set on the PowerPoint deck, and then you have a set of controls or the storyboard shapes that you can go ahead and start building your stories quickly, right? So you can drag and drop the button. If you need a grid, you can drag and drop the grid and start filling the grid with information that you need. And what you can also do is create hyperlinks. So when you right click, so there is, let me create another deck here. So you notice that if you go and say hyperlink recent current folder, yeah, so you can actually link from slide 1 to slide 2, right? So you can build the entire navigation story around this by using the templates that are available. And you have all sorts of templates, right? You have backgrounds, you have different icons that you want to use for building the stories. These are all predefined. You have Windows Phone templates that you want to use. You have basic Windows templates that you can use and create the story for yourself. In addition, you can capture screenshots of the decks and then you can share them. Also, what you can do once you're done creating the story, let me go back to the original site that they had. So if you see this slide, you have another option under the storyboarding tab called as storyboarding links. The moment you click on the storyboarding link, it will open the project connection. So you connect to your team project. For me, it's the Fabricam Fiber team project. You connect to it. You notice that on the left-hand side top corner, there is an icon which says Add Link to Work Item, right? So what it really says is that the moment you have created the story, you can actually associate with a product backlog item, right? So you search for the product backlog items, click on Find, and click on any of the existing product backlog items, and then you can associate the story with the product backlog item, right? So let me associate with any one of them. Actually, let me, service rep can see service ticket details, right? Let me associate with this. So it's associated, and if you go to open the URL in Team Web Access, you notice that to that actual product backlog item, there is a storyboard, and the storyboard link is now available. So as a developer, when this product backlog item task gets assigned to you, you really don't have to collaborate much with the business analyst because he would have captured everything for you already, right? And you just have to click on this link, open the story, walk through the story, understand the requirements clearly, and then start working on it. In addition, what you can do as a developer, say for example, you have some feedback or you have some questions around the story, right? You probably don't understand certain things very well about the story. Traditionally, you would have drafted an email, written a list of questions for the business analyst and send them, and then you would walk through different iterations. He will send back emails, and then you will have further questions, follow-ups, and you do that, keep doing that, right? Instead, what you can do actually here is close this item, go to All Programs, Visual Studio 11. Let me check if there are any issues anybody is facing. Okay. Okay, that's everything. Looks good. So you can go to Microsoft Feedback Manager. This again part of the Team Suite that is. Okay, let me see. All Programs, Visual Studio 11, Feedback Manager. Okay, so looks like it's actually trying to grab the work item. So let me close this. So I may have assigned the work item to a different user, right? That's the reason it's saying that it's not available for you. So let me go to all programs, again Visual Studio, Feedback Manager. No, let me actually close this thing. Right, why is saying that? Let me actually switch the user and let me see if it's part of another user. Yeah, so I think I have associated that work item with Julia, so let me see if that's the problem. Let me find Julia and right, so you can see that it's now working for Julia. So let me go to the PowerPoint deck. Let me see if it's still available. PowerPoint storyboarding. Let me see if it's in the recent one. Yeah, so let me open this. Yeah. The storyboard that I created. And what you can do is go to settings and then enable your audio recording as well along with video. Okay, so I think the audio is not going to work from my VM. I think it's not configured correctly. But what you can do is that as a developer, you can really give feedback. So you do not have to use any additional tool like you use video capture tools or anything. You can start creating feedback for the stories right from within your desktop using this feedback manager tool, right? So you click on start. And you'll notice that it actually is connected to your Team Foundation project that you have selected. So it's already connected to that now. And you can start giving feedback. So your audio keeps getting recorded. You can start typing in comments. I don't understand the requirements, correct? And also what you can do is capture some screenshots, right? So you can say I'll capture the screenshot, it would be automatically placed within the feedback manager. So you can capture all the feedback including text, video, audio, and once you're done, all you have to do is just submit, give some rating if you wish to, and then put some comments if you wanted to, and then say submit, right? And the moment you submit the feedback, you can actually go back to web access URL. And you'll notice that the feedbacks are listed under the feedback window here. Let me stop this feedback manager so that I have the window to share. So you notice that the feedback is saved here as part of your results, right? Or the shared queries. In the work item, you can go to my feedback link and you will notice that the feedback is shared. All the business analyst has to do is go in and play that feedback. Open that work item and play that feedback. And you'll be able to understand what the questions are and then respond accordingly, right? This is a pretty nifty addition to Team Foundation Server 11. Enhances the collaboration between the business analysts and the rest of the team immensely. And I think all of us can really leverage this feature that is coming up in Team Foundation Server 11. All right, so that is the demo on PowerPoint storyboarding. Let's move on to our slide deck. In the meanwhile, let me see if there are any questions. Okay, there are a lot of questions. How do we assess, I'm not sure I understand that question. How do we assess the process customized? I don't think I understand that question correct, so I'll skip that. Yeah, so can you please tell me about reports which are available in TFS? Yes, of course. Please hang on, hang in there. I'll be demoing how the reporting capabilities are. So I'm going to demo that. How is resource ramp up, ramp down done in TFS? Yeah, Yes, absolutely. I think this is a question from Mr. Anup, right? So yes, you can. There is a capability matrices, and you can see how your resource allocation is. So it really gives you that matrix. I'm going to show you that shortly. Do we need a separate server for? No, yeah, of course. TFS needs to be installed on a server, right? There is, again, I don't want to delve much details into the installation side of the house, but there are different enterprise architectures that you can use to load balance your TFS server and improve the communication. You can have proxies installed to say, for example, if you're in a dispersed geographic location, right, you would want to improve your experience in checking in and checking out files. Pretty useful in case of large projects, right? So you can use a proxy server. And then there are different configurations that you can do. So yeah, but bottom line, yes, you would need a different server to install TFS. And then developers would have the Visual Studio installed on their machines, and then they can use the TFS client to connect and communicate with the Team Foundation server. All right. Oh, awesome question. Yes, I'm going to cover that. I have one demo quickly. I'm going to show you what is hosted Team Foundation server is, and then maybe we can talk then. How can I have a storyboard shape for PowerPoint? Yes, you have to install Team Foundation server, so the add-in gets enabled in your office, and then it becomes part of your PowerPoint, so that way you can use the storyboard add-in for PowerPoint to use the storyboard shapes. Can I develop ASP.NET MVC projects from scratch without? That's a relevant question. I'm going to ignore that. I think that would, in general, feedback, can we have audio conversations like Skype? I don't think that's allowed. You can come back and type your questions in here, and then I'd be more than happy to address them. Right? Okay, so I think I have answered quite a few questions there. Let's move on. Okay, so we had a demo of the storyboarding. So, apart from improved collaboration across team members, another thing that is also very important is collaboration between the tools themselves, right? Today, if you are using maybe like an open source tool for source control, you have to fall back on different set of tools to, do your work item tracking and maybe do bug tracking, and they're tedious, right? You have to move from one tool to another, and then when it comes to the developers, the collaboration is the experience is not that immersive and seamless. So what Microsoft also wants to do is not just improve the experience, the collaboration experience across the development team members or the team members across operations, the business analysts, the quality teams, etc., but also enhance the experience of better tooling integration, right? What I mean is that if you notice Visual Studio 11 and Team Foundation Server integrate seamlessly. You just noticed how the Office Suite products integrate with Team Foundation and how easy it is to capture feedback. So better tooling is also one of the focus areas for Team Foundation and the Microsoft stack of products addressing application lifecycle management scenarios, right? So let's move on. Right. So you have process guidance, and then there are quite a few process guidances that are available in the market today. Some of them are becoming standard part of Team Foundation Server. So if you use Team Foundation Server 11, and when you create a new team project, you would notice that there are at least 5 templates that are available to you to build your process guidance, right? And then all of the team members here can leverage the process guidance. The demo I just did using the PowerPoint storyboarding, I'm leveraging the Scrum process guidance mechanism, right? Agile Scrum process template is what I'm using as my process guidance, as my choice tool of choice, or my process guidance of choice. And then it is being leveraged by all of my team members, the business analysts, the project managers, the development team, and the quality team, right? So, I just demoed how the business analyst can leverage Team Foundation Server 11. Let me now quickly demo how project managers can actually leverage Team Foundation Server to do better work item management and tracking, right? So if you notice, I will log back into the machine. I think I'm logged in as, let me see who I'm logged in. I think I'm logged in as Julia. So I'll continue as her. She's the project manager as well, allocated for this project. Let me close the PowerPoint deck and let me go back. In addition to the project portal, you would notice that you also have web access. What's the difference really? Project Portal is the SharePoint platform, and primarily you use it for you know, as a repository to store your documents and, you know, share them with different team members. TFS Web Access will be a first-class citizen now, so you can use TFS Web Access really to do all sorts of things which you couldn't do in the previous versions of Team Function Server. For example, you can actually do source control. You can check files that are checked in there. You can download them. There are dashboards available to do storyboarding. There are dashboards available to collaborate and, you know, move tasks around the boards. So if you're doing the stand-up board is now available part of Team Web Access, and you can use it to you know, to update different teams with the status of your task, whether it's in progress, to do, or completed. And in addition, the reporting experience is more seamless now with TFS Web Access. So really, before you had to go to a different folder and then launch into the report, and it was really not, the experience was not really seamless. We'll see how TFS Web Access, the reporting experience, is also now integrated with the rest of the data and rest of the elements on the or rest of the moving pieces of Web Access, right? So again, in TFS 11, everything would be driven by team. So you would have to create a team, and then all the artifacts would be organized in teams. You can use this manage teams and project groups administration link to manage teams. You can use this to manage project members. Also, what you can do is you can define areas and iterations. So if you click on that, team, you'll notice that there is something called as manage schedule and iterations. Iterations are no longer secondary again in TFS 11. Iterations are driven by dates. So if you have defined an iteration cycle and allocated a sprint, and I'm using terminologies which you would be familiar if you are using the Agile Scrum process, right, mechanism. So your Scrum is actually driven by the iteration date time that you fix, and you know, your iteration will automatically flip to the different sprints based on the times that you have allocated. So if you have put a calendar time against a particular, say if you notice that sprint 1 is 8/20/11 and ends at 8/19, so that is the sprint is already over for you. You don't have to do anything explicit. You will notice that sprint 3 is what we are currently in. I'm the calendar here. I'm using a September schedule, right? I have reset my clock to September, so I'm using a September month to demonstrate these activities. And you'll notice that I'm currently in sprint 3. That is what is going to get displayed in my home page. And iterations automatically pick them up from the start date and end date that you have assigned, right? So again, iterations are now first-class citizens here. So it's a nice good feature. So let me go back. The first thing that you would see is the backlog. So if you click on the backlog, you notice that a list of stories are in the backlog. What is a backlog? It's really is a wish list that the customer has presented, and then it has been prioritized according to what are the items that are must-have and what items that could be nice to have, right? So these stories are prioritized based on that. And you'll notice that it's very interesting that you can actually drag and drop the stories to change their order, right? So you can actually say that this story is prioritized, not high priority at this point. So you can actually drag and drop it and change the priorities of stories as you wish. You can add stories right away. So choose the product backlog item from the drop down, create a story. call center support log needs to be generated. If this is a story, you could actually click and add the story. Default, it gets added on the top, and then you can organize them as you wish, right? If you have selected one item, then it will get added right before it. So this story just got added, so I'll make it the lowest priority. I'll drag and drop it down below, and then I'll change the priority. Also, you notice that the current sprint is sprint 3 based on the date time schedule that you saw. And what I can also do is click on a particular story and then drop it onto that sprint tab, and the story will get allocated to that sprint. So now you notice that the iteration path has been updated from Fabricam Fiber to Fabricam Fiber Sprint 3. Right? Pretty easy. Earlier you had to open the story in earlier versions of Team Foundation. You have to open it, create a new linked item, associate it, and you have to do all that. Everything is flexible and drag and drop here, right? In the new Team TFS Web Access. Another thing that I was talking about, I had a reporting question. So reporting is again seamlessly integrated, right? You notice that on the top hand right corner, it shows the velocity graph of the different stories, and if you click on it, the actual velocity graph opens up. So the experience is very seamless. You don't have to really go back and figure out what your velocity is. From while entering stories from this particular screen, you can actually track what your velocity is and then plan your stories accordingly, right? So you can see this nice little nifty snippets on top, and then you can use it to decide your product backlog items. So that's a very cool feature. Also, if you click on a particular story, it opens up, and then you can update the story. There are acceptance criteria that you can define. Storyboards, you can link them to storyboards. You can define test cases. That pretty much remains unchanged. Go to your sprint, click on sprint 3, and you notice that all the tasks are now broken down. So you can actually see the tasks that are part of the stories being grouped, and then again, the reporting experience is so much enhanced and is so seamless and immersive. So you'll notice that you're actually tracking your work. It's 36 or 42 hours. How much work is left right here from within this sprint app, and then you can track work by activity and work by users. Right? You can actually see that Annie has 5 out of 9 hours left, and Ryan and Julia have completed their tasks. Right? So very nice thing. You can go ahead and add tasks here. Say, for example, you would want to add tasks, say call center log, and then maybe you can assign it to, say, Julia, and status is to do, and remaining work, specify the hours as maybe, say, 20 hours, and save and close. Right? You'd notice that the green color on tracking on top has actually changed to red, telling me that you have over allocation somewhere, right? And you notice that Julia has been over allocated. So really, this is one task I cannot plan in this particular sprint. You want this to be moved to future sprints coming, right? All you have to do is pick that task up, drag and drop it. Actually, you cannot drag and drop the task, but you have to drag and drop the entire story for that matter. So say, for example, I want to drag and drop this particular story and relieve. So maybe I'll drag this story and drop it to sprint 4. Right? So this story is now moved to sprint 4. Let me drop some more so that I can actually, let me actually drag this so that, yeah, now it is back to green, seeing that you are comfortable doing your current sprint, right? Nobody is stressed out, and you're making good progress in your current sprint. In addition, you can actually do capacity planning. I think I also had a question here. So you can actually see who is allocated what amount of hours per day. You can change them. If there are any leaves, days off, you can add those days off that will get automatically calculated, and you can do all sorts of capacity planning. And going by the line of that immersive tracking experience, you'll notice that your burn down snippet is right here on top. You can click on the burn down snippet and open the burn down and track the progress. And you can actually decide by looking at the burn down how much allocation you have to do for different team members, right? So it's right there. Okay, so let's move on. The another nice thing is the board. So the board is really the stand-up board where you say where you are, what items are in to do, what items are in progress, and what items are incomplete. And going by the drag and drop experience, you can actually move items from one area to another, right? So teams can collaborate here, give their status updates, and then move the items from one partition to another, right? So for example, I want to complete this task. All I have to do is, maybe I have already completed this task. I have to just drag and drop the task under the done section, and I'm good. And you'll notice that the burn down also gets automatically updated based on the changes, right? Everything is realigned here. You can see general backlog items overall, and then you can see them by team members, who is working on what particular task, what is the status, and then you can keep moving them around. Very nice features for me, so I think you can really leverage this board. And truly, we don't have to have a physical board. All the team members can collaborate online and use this board to track their progresses. Okay, what else did I have in this? Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to have for from the. Okay, so I think we're not doing very good on time, so let me move on to the slide deck. See if there are any questions. Okay, I'll take the questions for later. So, so I just demonstrated how you can use the web portal to leverage some of the enhancements that has happened. It's reporting is seamless. It's the immersive experience that you have today. You can drag and drop items, and really, as project managers, business analysts, and the development team, collaboration becomes better, right? The experience of collaboration is a lot better now. So yeah, I had the question on the reporting capabilities. So you see that you have integrated reporting experience. You have the velocity tracking, the velocity trends, work item allocation, and the burn down, all available part of small snippets or regular reports that you can track. All right. Okay. So far we have seen how project managers and business analysts can collaborate better. Let's take a quick look at how developers can easily collaborate, right? There are a lot of things that developers can use, a lot of enhancements, but one thing I'm particularly interested and I want to demo here is the code review workflow. So as developers, we all know that, along the lines code swells and we really don't know what pieces or what areas in the solution structure are we breaking, what modules are getting broken. Maybe at times there is a need that we have an expert on the team that I want, or maybe your peer whom you want to get your code reviewed by. So what you can do is, everything is workflow driven. You can directly from within your Visual Studio assign or create a code review task and then give him the self-shed that the code reviewer can use and verify whether your changes are correct or not, right? So let's see that quickly, how you can do. So let me open, I think I'm as Julia, so yeah, let me open Visual Studio, maybe try and run in administrative mode. Sorry. Okay, Team Explorer add-in, if you have experience of the previous Team Explorer, the experience is totally different here. You have a web style interface in the Team Explorer as well. So if you go to a particular thing, say for example, if you go to My Work Items, that's the area that you see, and then you have to click this back button to come back and come to root and go to the other items within the hierarchy, right? So if you notice, let me open source control, expand the source control. Let me click on, let me open the solution, right? This is the project that I'm working on. So from a perspective, what I can do is I can go to my work. I can see what items are there. I can actually open an item and say add it to in progress. So all the to-do items will get listed here, allocated to me, and then I can right click and say add to in progress to add that item and then start working on that task, right? Another interesting thing here is I can actually suspend the tasks. Here is a scenario. So you're working on an enhancement, right? And the QA team just logged a bug, a P1 bug, which you need to really fix it. Otherwise, your release cycle will get broken. So what you can do is you can suspend. All of your work will get shelled, and shell sets can now be assigned to work items. So you can now actually assign the self shed to this particular work item, which will automatically happen the moment you click suspend. And then you can continue fixing the bug and come back and resume from where you left off. So this is a very cool feature that is available now in Team Foundation Server 11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the solution, actually not open the solution, I can go to a folder, open a particular file. Let me see if there is a particular file on the web. Say, let me open this and check this file out, right? So I'm going to check this file out for edit. The moment I check this file out, you notice that under your in progress another menu gets available, which is called as request review. So what you can do is you can click on this request review option, enter a name for the reviewer. Maybe I can assign it to say Brian to review my code. I can talk about the implementation, what I want to review, give some description, what is the progress, add a new comment, and then I can really see the changes that I want him to review. Notice that the changes are available here. You can exclude or include. You can do those options, and then submit a request basically to get your work item reviewed, right? So that is a very nice thing that is available in Team Foundation Server. So again, cool thing. You can actually collaborate with developers, and the moment you assign this particular task for review, Brian will see it in his Team Explorer settings, and then he can go take a look at the item and then provide his comments, and then based on that the developer can actually check in his changes or make the necessary changes in the source file. So all workflow driven. So most of the actions today in Team Explorer that are related to the developer activities like check-in, check-out, everything is workflow driven today, right? Okay. All right. So I think that's one thing I want to demo. There are other nice things that are also available part of the enhanced developer experience. Actually, you can find similar source code. So if you open that file, I will quickly show you that again. If you open this file, select a particular code block, right click, you notice that there are fine matching clones in solution. What happens is that what in a maintenance mode, the original developers move on, right? They go to a different project, and then new team members join the team. And when they make changes, they're really not sure what areas it is impacting. So what they can do is use this feature, right click and find clone, to find similar code blocks in the solution, and then figure out if they need to refactor that piece of code or not based on the changes that they have just made. So small enhancements like these, but big impact in terms of the developer productivity, right? They're all over the place. All right, so let's move on. Okay, the final theme is build, deploy, release. What you can do to enhance your deployment and release experience, and how you can do predictive release. The first thing that you do as a team is capture the non-functional requirements, and then you start creating the solution structure, right? The first thing that you do is you create branches. A basic branching strategy would be to branch out into three things: development, main, and release. The development team can work on the development branch. A copy would be present in the main branch, and then when the changes in the development team are done and tested to certain levels, it can be merged with the main branch, and then in the main branch is where you run release, QA cycles, and then push it to the release branch to release it to production. A very simple branching strategy. You could also do a merging strategy, particularly useful for production scenarios. What happens is that once you are in production, or once you are working in teams that are again geographically dispersed, you would want to break out your main branch into different teams. Again, if you're in different teams and you're releasing to production, they could build feature release branches, right? And then based on your strategy and your duration of release cycles, you can merge up or down and finally get them to the main branch for your release cycles, right? So you implement different branching and merging strategies based on your needs. That's the first thing that you do in your build and deploy and release scenario. Another very important aspect is gaining momentum is the concept of continuous delivery. Today, not only you want to continuously integrate meaning that collecting the source code from different teams and then putting together a build to check the sanctity of the build and then whether it's ready for release or for deployment to QA teams. You'd also want to do a continuous delivery, meaning automated deployment that would happen without any manual intervention in a very planned manner, in a predicted manner. Why would you want that? Various utilities. Get rid of those last-minute rush where you see some issues in release, and then you have to roll back the build and go back to an old build and then redo everything from scratch. So if you're in a continuous delivery mechanism, you're actually putting checks and balances in place to ensure your build quality, and then do a deployment in different staging environments where QA teams can come back in the morning and start testing. So really you don't have to, the QA team in the morning, really don't have to ask the dev team to go and give them builds when they need it on an on-demand basis. But really, end of the day build cycles can help them and test new features that have been added throughout the day, right? So continuous delivery is one aspect that is gaining momentum. Let's see a quick demo of continuous delivery. So I'm going to go log back in as I think an administrator for whom I have set up the builds. So let me switch user, log in as administrator. And you'd see that you have the build tab. So if I go back, you have this builds tab, and you can create a new build. You can give a definition for build, and builds are workflow driven. You can actually open the template and put in your activities to modify and create your own build template. And then you can define a trigger. So you can define something called as continuous integration. You can also define something called as get it check-in. So get it check-in is really a one-step check before you are actually doing a nightly build, right, or a regular build. What it allows you to do is ensure that no bad code gets checked in. So what it does is the moment you check in, it runs a build and puts your code in a self-check, right? If the build is successful with that code, then only it checks them in automatically, else reverts back telling you that your code is failing the build. Very good feature if you're again in teams that are across the globe. You have a 24-hour cycle delay, so the dev team, when they come back in the morning, they are not starting their day with a bad build, right? It's a very useful feature in such scenarios. May not be really useful in small teams. It might be overkill. So if you're in the same region, you probably don't. You can live without this, and you can live simply with continuous integrations, right? So I have set up a gated check-in build for myself to ensure I've put all checks and balances there to ensure that no bad code gets checked in. And then if I go to my process, you'll notice that there are several things I can do. One thing is I have to select the items to build. So you select and find out what source you want to build. So you want to go to dev, the folder, and select the solution that you want to build. And then you can do different things. You can perform, say for example, code analysis. What you can do is you want to always run static analysis on your code. Say you have defined rules that all your public methods should be documented correctly, right? And you have a code analysis rule that checks that. So if a developer accidentally, inadvertently tries to check in code which has public methods which are not documented, the get it check-in build will fail, right? Telling you that make those changes and then only you can check them in. And then you can do several other things. You can run automated tests, associate them with your builds to ensure that no tests are failing, you are not breaking any layers with your changes. And if you go to advanced, you'll notice that there are several MS build argument options. If you are using MS deploy or the Microsoft deployment service, you can push those arguments as MS build arguments so that it can run a script once your build is successful. And what the script will contain? It can contain elements to deploy your changes automatically to a particular machine once the build is successful, right? So that teams can test it and you have the application up and running. So that's a very nice thing to have in Team Foundation, right? So I've actually set up a gated checking. If I go back as Julia, here, if I try to make, say for example, I made this change, right, and I want to check this in. So the moment I say check in, you'd get a prompt. This is the kind of prompt you'll get, which will ask you to build your changes before you can check in. This will validate the sanctity of your code so that you don't break the build for others, right? Very nice thing that is available. Okay, so let's head back to cloud. You also have TFS now available in cloud, so you can actually use TFS as a service. I have opened this URL. I think we're running short of time, so I'm going to quickly show you that. You can go to the URL tfspreview.com. You can create a subscription. You can actually request them. It's by invitation only. So you can request ID from Microsoft, and then once you receive the ID, you can actually log in to the TFS web portal, and then you can do pretty much everything that you had done in TFS on-premise, right? So you can go to home, you can create a team, right? And then you can create product backlog items, add tasks, bugs. You can go to source control, see your source. Everything that you could do today in on-premise is fairly possible. Not everything is possible, but to a fair extent it's possible to do in cloud. I think I had a question on what are the pros and cons. I think it's a matter of choice and not really which one is better. Of course, it would be great to have something on-premise, but then if you're a small team, right, you cannot really afford having a lot of maintenance on having the TFS on-premise. You could actually consume services from cloud, and if you need, you can suffice the requirements of your team doing source control and work item tracking. So I think that's where the leverage is, and I think moving forward you should be able to scale if you're using the Team Foundation on cloud on demand if you wanted to, right? So that's one of the benefits of having TFS in cloud. All right, so the last thing that I wanted to discuss and wrap this session up is the maturity model, and that's the takeaway for you, right? So you've seen all these tools and how you can leverage them to improve your existing experience in terms of your software application lifecycle management, improve developer productivity, improve collaboration. But then you would also need to assess where you stand today and what you can do to improve your processes, right? So what is this release maturity, right? It's a structure for assessing organizations' capabilities to build and release software. So it's a model that an enterprise can use to decide what capabilities they have today in terms of building and releasing software. And then it gives you an approach how you can use the tools like Team Foundation Server or Visual Studio Team System to improve your existing practices, and do that in a iterative fashion, right? Keep assessing, respond to change, right? So let's take a look at the model. The first level, if you are in, is something named regressive, in which everything is manual. Your build, deployment, release, testing, you do everything manually, right? It could be a scenario you are in. The next scenario or the next level is repeatable. So you have achieved some level of build automation using maybe say batch files, right? Or maybe to a certain extent using Team Foundation. Deployment, you are also doing some level of automation. You're using batch files to deploy. You're releasing, they're infrequent, but they're fairly reliable because you're ensuring that you do not have scheduled deadlines. You're not saying that I'm going to release every week irrespective of whether I have anything or not. But then you are saying that it's a reliable release because it's been tested by a QA team. The next level will be consistent, where your build and deployment is fairly automated. You've put in some kind of change management in place for your release cycles, and there is an approval process. You started using automated testing, and you're using integrated developer testing, and you're ensuring that your builds pass through those test cycles before they are certified for release, right? You're also using tools to automatically do database upgrades, right? So you can use actually Visual Studio Team System to do schema comparison, find out different scripts of the data and the schemas, and then use them to automatically upgrade your databases, right? So you are doing that in consistent phase of the maturity. And then there is the next phase, which is quantitative. Your builds have a visible metrics, right? You have a dedicated build team that is allocated, and not pick one guy from your development team to build fix the build, right? So you have a dedicated team that's working towards builds. All deployments are orchestrated. It's a very strong term saying that your deployments are happening automatically alongside your builds, right? So you are in the quantitative stage. And then the final one is optimizing. It's really a classy level. You're using probably lab management to provision your staging environments automatically. You know builds are rolled back, right? You're having automated test cases running. So what you can do is, along with your build cycles, you can integrate IntelliTrace tools or your test automation tools to ensure that you smoke the builds once they are deployed. So that's a fairly possible scenario, and then you're not rolling back any build. And then your database performance is also monitored. So you're actually monitoring your database performance over the enhancement cycles. What is your maturity? I think this model can help you align your goals. It can tell you where you stand today. You can look at this today and probably tell, okay, I'm in this particular level and I need to work towards a particular level. It's not really that you have to be optimizing. The goal is not that. I think the goal is to understand where you stand today and then work towards your set goals, right? Your set goal may be consistent. This is not a this model is not a standardized model that you have to follow to get to certain audit patterns or certifications, right? It's for you to use, assess yourself, figure out, and then leverage the model, right? So as a process model, as a team, you can leverage this model and then work towards improving it, right, in an empirical fashion. When I say empirical, it's tunable. You tune yourself. You continuously assess, adapt, and then mature, right? So that concludes the session. I think I'm now ready to take some questions. So let me see what questions are there. I'll be picking some of them. Okay, is there any new features in TFS 2011 build definition as compared to TFS 2010? Not as of yet. I think it's pretty much same what it had been the way before. It's still in developer preview mode, so we are expecting some changes to come up. But I think in terms of build and deployment, it's fairly standard. Yes, one change that I want to talk about is in terms of gated check-in. You can actually do simultaneous gated check-ins now. So earlier you could only do one gated check-in before to improve the performance over check-ins, and so that you don't have to wait. You can do simultaneous gated check-ins. That's a nice enhancement that you have. Okay. I'm new to TFS and I have one technical question. If any assembly is referenced locally in a project, how will TFS automatically build features to resolve this issue? Okay, no assemblies are, assemblies are local, I correct, but if it's a dependent assembly, right, it's suppose it's a assembly that you're dependent on, you put them in a particular folder, and TFS is pretty agnostic to what code you're using or what kind of assemblies they are being used. It's like a source and target mechanism. You use MS build commands to basically find out if MS build commands to run and build those solution structures, build your source code, and then find out if everything is working fine or not, right? TFS basically consumes those MS build commands. So it's not really that TFS will automatically do that or resolve any issue. It will consume MS build commands to do that, and you have to explicitly specify them, right? If there are any dependencies, you have to explicitly specify them in your script that you're using, or that you're or the parameters that you're supplying to the msbuild command. Is optimizing level like V-shaped model where parallel SDLC activities can be carried out? Let me think about it. Yeah, I guess maybe I would leave the answer a little balanced. So I think it doesn't really drive that, but yes, I think you can actually use to carry out parallel SDLC activities. The reason I'm saying this is because you probably leverage Team Foundation Server, lab management mechanisms to provision your environments, right? So maybe you can use automatic provisioning there to carry out parallel SDLC activities, right? So I think, I don't know if that answers your question, but I guess, yeah, optimizing would also address that. Do you think the entire maturity model is not complete unless data cleaning or messaging is performed? Yes, and if you notice, it's primarily part of the optimizing model. The other models are fairly new to address data issues, right? Its optimizing model is where you actually are doing cleansing activities. So what I'm saying is that when you are saying that you're checking your whether your databases are optimized for the performance or not, you would probably not only do schema comparisons and build change scripts, you would probably also execute packages to ensure that your data is correct. Okay. Yeah, so I think you would probably do that, and that's something that's not fairly automated. I think you would have to use a mix of automation and manual exercise to perform that action, right? What else? Can I use a student version? You can use TFS on cloud. You can subscribe, and then maybe you can use the cloud version to test you out if you wanted to. I don't know what exactly you mean by whether testers can directly build from TFS. TFS can actually give you a build, so I don't know if I don't understand the question correctly, but TFS can actually drop a build for the QA team automatically, if that's what you meant. Does this portal, which portal are you talking about? The team portal? Yeah, it does. Yeah, so you can you know, copy items, create work items from one work item, and then you can use the templates. So of course you can do that. So yeah, the question was, does this portal also help in utilization of reusable components? Yes, of course. The board will display tasks. Yes, it will display the task of backlog items. What else you have? How does it help manage alert effort under? So I think alert is configuration driven, but if you notice, the experience on reporting is seamless, right? The moment I updated the hours, it changed to red from green. So you can immediately get notified when the moment you open web access portal that something you're doing is going to overrun, right? So the moment you keep adding tasks, your graph is going to bump up right in front of you, and you can figure out whether it's going to go into a budget over. You can do better planning in terms of your cost and effort estimation. I think I demonstrated that, overloading of resources and overloading of activities. Does Microsoft Visual Studio have any advantage? If you're asking Visual Studio, yes, you know, you can do C++ development. That's an irrelevant question for this session though. But if the question was in Team Foundation, you can use Team Foundation to do integrated development on C++ as well. So, reporting for quality analysts. Yes, I unfortunately was in limited time to answer that question, but yes, you can do that. So explore more on TFS 11 and you see that there are certain reportings, defect tracking and dependency tracking that the quality analysts can actually do. Okay, so I think we have run out of time. I'm guessing I am not be able to address any more questions, but here is my contact details. Let me share the slide again. Please take a note of my email address, and you can reach out to Nirasik if you have any more questions on, if you want to get an assessment done for your company or you want to know more about ALM, you can reach out to us, and you can write to me if you have any questions, and follow my blog. I'll keep updating the new features that are coming up in TFS 11, so you can chime in. All right. That said, I think we're good with the session. Thanks a lot, everybody, for attending this session. And as I said, I'm available over email. So if you have any questions or anything to follow up, you can send an email to me, and I'd be more than happy to address those. Thanks a lot for attending this session.
Thanks, Mr. Sandeep, for your informative session on Software Application Lifecycle Management Maturity with Microsoft Visual Studio and Team Foundation Server. It was indeed an enlightening session. I would also like to thank our participants for their support in making this webinar a huge success. The recording of this webinar will be available on techgeek.com by tomorrow. The next session in TechGeek webinar series is happening on Monday, this 23rd January at 3 p.m. Topic for the webinar is Code Walkthrough, Hibernate Getting Started with CRUT. We'll be having Mr. Zahir Nanji, Senior Technical Architect, Vertex Software Private Limited, as our guest speaker. So see you all on Monday. Till then, thank you.